Morning YouTube, namaste and welcome to my channel. This is just I kind of guess a channeling, something that it's been on my conscience a lot over the past couple of days with my own experiences and with experiences of others around me. Narcissism has been really at the forefront of my mind, and how we go through such absolutely mind-boggling confusion when we come across these type of relationships or friendships or family members. And I just wanted to pop the recorder on and record what's been going in my conscience to maybe hopefully help anybody out there who may be feeling the same way as what I do about it. A very, like I said in my last video, very recently understood the relationship I've been in, okay? And this is not to slag anybody off, because this is where I'm going with this. What's just recently come into my consciousness is, we are very wounded people ourselves that get into toxic relationships with narcissists. If we weren't, we wouldn't get in them, So it's all well and good calling the narcissist toxic, which they absolutely are, because mind manipulation games, control, devaluing and getting enjoyment out of that to anybody is, I don't care how many wounds you got, is not acceptable, But we all have to take responsibility for our own healing and our own toxic traits, and as empaths, unfortunately, we don't even know we've got these toxic traits because we're so naive. That's what I want to say about an awakened empath. I was very naive. But then even when I wasn't naive, I still got into that relationship. But I guess, and again, your intuition is telling you the whole time, but because you've gone through this devaluing process, it's very hard to trust yourself, and it's very hard to listen to that intuition and know your worth. You really get lost. You lose yourself in a narcissistic relationship, whether that be friendship or not. And I don't know why, but for some reason, empaths are people pleasers. They're lovely people, but they also, when they do see something toxic in somebody, whether it be a friend or a lover, if they love that person, they'll try and make excuses for that, and that is basically giving our power away. I don't really know where this talk is going, but I hope it reaches somebody that is hopefully on their healing journey away from narcissistic people, or just waking up into the reality of what the hell is going on, because sometimes you don't see it. Well, you don't see it for years and years and years sometimes, but when I was going through it in this incident, and not just with the relationship, maybe with friendships around me as well, and not feeling like you fit in. But then again, we get into these friendships, or we go out with people, and we sometimes feel like we are the issue because other people don't like us. But what we've got to understand as empaths is it's never our issue. Because, for example, if you didn't like somebody, it wouldn't be that other person's issue, would it? It'd be your own issue. So coming from the other side of it, being an empath, because we feel so guilty and shameful and upset because of the games they play, but because of also the conscience that we have and the empathy that we have towards humans, we feel it, and it affects us. But the main key to understanding all of this is, if anybody, whether they be a narcissist or not, I kind of guess that they will be narcissistic if they do act like this, but whether you know them or not, whether they're somebody you love or not, if anybody in the whole wide world goes out of their way to put you down, to make themselves feel better, to purposely make you feel less than, to make themselves feel more than, to devalue you, to abandon you, to ignore you for absolutely no reason whatsoever. If and you know that there's no reason whatsoever, then I'm sorry, you need to stop taking the baggage of what that other person has put on you, you know, because you're literally putting on, you are carrying that other person's hatred for you for no reason, you know, because good people don't just hate people for no reason, and you know that because you don't, you know. And this is why it's so confusing for an empath to understand that people are not everybody's like them, you know. And then it makes the empath feel alone and feel isolated even more, and insecure even more. But the only way to crack out of that is self-concept. That's something that I've been learning a lot on lately. I've, you know, followed the law of attraction for many years. Never really worked for me. I have manifested, but kind of like things that I shouldn't have really, and then things that I have and I haven't been ready for them. So the self-concept that I've been doing lately, and the law of assumption that I've got into recently, is more about, again, healing, I guess. You know, it's not for me so much about manifesting. It's about knowing your worth and having a good self-concept, a good self-belief system in yourself. So when people do reject you, and when people do put you down, or when you do meet narcissists and they do play these games with you, you have such a high level of knowing who the fuck you are. Sorry for swearing, but it's true. And your knowing of who you are inside, your belief system of who you are inside is that strong that if somebody does come along and try and make you feel less than by ignoring you, or by perhaps talking about you with other people, or any of that, your self-belief system inside of you is so strong that it doesn't affect you, okay? And I was like, wow, you know, when I understood that. And sometimes it's hard, you know, because when you get betrayed or when you get let down, and you automatically go into victim mode, you automatically go into why me, I'm so, you know. And then again, that's lower level energies. And then what do? When we're sitting in them lower level energies? We attract more of it to us, okay? And it's good to have a good support system around you. I don't have many, but like the more that I'm elevating, I guess, and understanding this concept, the more I'm attracting people to me that are like me. So that's a beautiful thing, because you feel comfortable to be your true self. And it's always good to be discerning anyway, you know, especially if you are an empath and if you feel energies and you are very sensitive. That's the main keys to know you're an empath before you go into it any further. If you feel different in any way, if you feel sensitive, if you felt rejected, if you feel like you've got a people please to fit in, they are the like basic traits of perhaps a wounded empath, and the beginning of an awakening for an empath to understand and get back to this self-belief and self-concept that was taken away from us as children, you know, in childhood. Somewhere you were left out, somewhere, say if your friends leave you out, for example, and whenever you're in a big crowd of friends, I don't know, you feel like you're the odd one out, you know. Somewhere in your childhood you felt that, you felt abandoned. Maybe you were in a family that had a couple of kids, and one was the enabled kid and always done well, and you felt like you were never good enough. You know, that wound there will make you subconsciously people please, and it'll seep into relationships where you never feel good enough, and you attract these people that make you chase them for love, and it's awful, and it's devaluing ourselves, you know. And it all comes from the wound from childhood. So it's about understanding that first, okay? As soon as you understand that concept, that it is not you and that it is not your fault, okay? Yes, again, I go back to empaths being somewhat toxic, because we do have these wounds and we need to heal them. And at the end of the day, this isn't about blaming the narcissist. This isn't about blaming our parents. This isn't about blaming outside people. This is about taking responsibility and ownership of your own healing and your own wounds, and how you get to dictate how your life goes, not how other people around you get to dictate how your life goes. Okay, it's mad. It's an absolute mad concept how the brain works. But once you wake up to that concept, and again, I go back to having like-minded people around you that maybe have been through relationships or going through or have just come out of relationships that are narcissistic, that are like this, and they did lose themselves. So you can feel less alone. And they can feel less alone, and you can work it out together, and it's a great support system where you can learn to trust yourself again around people that you trust, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's just really been going around in my mind as far as it's not about blaming anybody. I spoke my truths because I guess everybody deserves to speak their truths, and a lot of us survivors don't speak our truths, okay? Because empaths don't want a big fuss. We don't want a big, I'm right, you're wrong. That is not how an empath works. An empath just wants to heal and be happy again, especially once they've gone through this type of trauma. It's so hard to pick up your self-worth again, pick up your self-value again, pick up your confidence again in yourself. And that doesn't just mean in your looks. That means that seeped into every single aspect of my life as far as work was concerned, friends were concerned. It affected everything for me. But again, it's not about blaming other people or circumstances, because we are responsible for our own emotions and our own healing and how we dictate our own lives. Okay, so when we start to heal and we start to love that inner child and we start to give all that self-love and self-acceptance and self-approval to ourselves without needing validation of anybody else, okay, we start attracting people that are like-minded, and also that's where the healing comes in, and you kind of like separate yourself from the experience of what happened, and you can pick it apart and understand it, and then you become strong. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there for anybody that is kind of like in that area of understanding what's just happened to you and taking your power back, because that powerless feeling, it can go on for years, and at the end of the day, only one life we've got. I've wasted many, many years throughout the relationships. The 3 relationships that I was in was with low self-worth and lack of self-value, and staying in my comfort zone, comforting myself with things like addictions, food, smoking, being lazy. A lot of my life, and it's wasting what isn't, it's wasting a life that was never meant to be yours to live in the first place. It's only because you've got these wounds, and it is our responsibility at the end of the day. We can't jump out of a toxic relationship and then jump back into one and say, see, look, I'm an empath, I just attract narcissists and that's just how my life's going to be. No, there has to be a light switch moment. There has to be, because you can either go 2 ways with this. You can either go, right, I'm never getting into another relationship again, I'm just going to honor myself, I'm going to love myself, and that is perfect. You don't have to be in a relationship. I would love to get to the place, and I am in that place at the moment, and it's a beautiful place, when we are free and we can just be happy. But we all want love, and we all want to find that one person that gets us and understands us. But it's about having, again, that much self-worth and self-respect that you don't get lost in any love, in any relationship. You don't lose yourself, okay? You have that much confidence that if something does go wrong, that you can control them emotions inside of you, because you understand them emotions inside of you and you understand the triggers. So yeah, that is the beautiful bit about healing, and about self-acceptance, of understanding that even as empaths we can be toxic, we can be codependent, we can be self-loathing, and then obviously it's a repeat of that, and it destroys us the further we go into these narcissistic relationships. But it's our ownership and our responsibility to take that power back. Okay, it's scene 1422, to take that power back and know our self-worth. So yeah, self-concept, if anybody's going through this, look up that. Self-concept affirmations. I've been listening to somebody called Dylan something, I'm not sure of his last name, but he's amazing. And just pop them on if you can't sleep with them on. I've been sleeping with them on, but pop them on first thing in the morning when your brain is just waking up, and last thing at night when you're just going to sleep, when your brain is like totally relaxing and your subconscious and your conscious are merging into one. So you really do start believing them things and stop believing the negative thoughts that other people have put into you, and then you take your power back. Okay, so I guess I don't even know what I'm going to name this video, but it is for anybody that has gone through losing themselves through relationships or finding themselves through losing people, I want to say. Okay, and I hope it helps anybody understand that they are worth it and they can start again at any time in their life, because that's another thing that runs through my head during this last cycle, because we've had 2 years now of the world changing so much, and I had a massive, basically all my 30s I've been awakening and I've been healing, 7 years of my life. And coming out of this relationship, I've been like, oh my God, can I really find the strength to begin again at 37, and absolutely yes, I can, because what is the alternative? What is the alternative? We all know the alternative, because we've all been there, being survivors of narcissistic people, and that is not where we belong. So I'm going to go now. I hope you have a beautiful day and a beautiful healing journey as well. Namaste.